I move for no man, no man, no man, no man, no
We'll call it a draw.
man.
Just a flesh wound, 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 just a flesh wound.
What'd you guys
Still
do?
not the father.
You are not the father.
Not the father.
What are expectant fathers doing without Jerry Springer being on right now? You know, like what? Like
They can't afford those Teslas.
How many dads are out there wondering whether or not it's their kid because they no longer have that outlet.
That's great. Remember staying home from school and just watching that like on repeat,
Dude,
hour after hour.
It was brutal. It's daytime TV like during the week. Terrible.
Gary, you modified your haircut.
Jeff Chu cut it again, yeah.
As we get closer to your match, you start looking more and more like a savage.
Yes.
Yes.
How's the weight cut going, Gary?
Oh, it's all right. I cut out carbs. I didn't lose as much as I thought I was going to, but it's gonna be fine. I mean, I'm like probably like 7 pounds overweight, and I'll probably be, by the time I actually arrive, I'll probably be like 5 pounds overweight or less, and that's a pretty easy water cut.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really worried about it. I was thinking I was gonna lose more weight faster, but it's not a big deal.
How much do you go up in between the scale and the fight?
Sorry?
How much weight do you go up between like the weighing in on the scale and then when you actually?
It's a good question. It really depends on what ensued during the cut and like how long it was. I would say I pretty frequently when I fight for one, and that's not even as much of a cut because that's like more. It's more of a. I mean, there's a severe dietary restriction for sure, but I mean like comparative to like a UFC cut where you're cutting like. I'd be cutting to like 145, and this is just to 155, right?
Right.
I usually am at least 170 again. So if I'm weighing in at 155, around 170.
And how much time between the weigh-in and the match for grappling?
For this match, grappling, it varies. They do all different kinds of weigh-ins. For this match specifically, it's a day before, so probably 24 hours roughly, which is pretty good. That's plenty of time to like rehydrate and stuff.
Hell yeah.
So it's, if I wanted to, theoretically, it could cut, 15, 20 pounds of water. That's a lot, but that's, you theoretically could do that. 5 pounds of water is like nothing.
No.
I mean, this guy's basically in my weight class. I'm just a shit bag who like eats like a piece of shit every day. So
Yeah.
like
At least
people
we
are
got
like,
that straight.
what's your walk around? And it's like, oh, well, kind of somewhere between like 170, 175. But if I ate like a normal human being, probably like,
65
on 170,
Yeah.
So I'm like right there, but I don't know.
Is this like a catch weight or what is it?
I guess kind of. I don't fight to like for me, like when I go to compete for somebody like fight to win, like they're gonna do whatever they can to like try to make it so that like I could be on the show. So like they're not as concerned with like, for instance, they grab like some UFC champ and they put him in to fight to win, right? Like they're not going to be concerned about the weight class and this, that, and they're just going to be like, okay, well, you're going to fight at this, whatever weight, he's willing
You guys
to fight.
agree? Yeah.
And that sort of thing. So
wait,
it's
you say
weight, yeah.
You say fight to win. Is it like, do the rules vary from match to match or what? What's fight to win?
Yes and no. Fight to win has a pretty specific rule structure throughout.
That's the organization, right, Gary? Fight to win.
Yeah.
I think that's I think that's.
I thought it was Flow Grappling. My bad.
Flow Grappling is the host. So like Flow Grappling is like I wouldn't say produces because Fight to Win technically produces the show, but Flow is like. Sorry.
They air it.
Yeah, Flow airs it. Yeah. So they have like the rights to the video footage and all that kind of stuff. So they're the one putting on the live stream and they do like some promotion and stuff. But Fight to Win is the actual organization that runs it. But as far as the rules are concerned, the only variance in rules for Fight to Win, for the most part, with a few exceptions, is typically the time limits. Usually, most of the undercard matches are under 10 minutes. Like they vary depending upon the age and the belt level of the competitor. And then the typically like whatever the headliner is like roughly a 10-minute match. I've fought for 15 before, like, negotiated for 15 because I prefer a little bit of a longer time limit. And they don't mind for me so much because I usually have really exciting matches. So like if for some people, if they do a 15-minute match and they're like a shitbag that doesn't isn't very exciting, like, dude, watching somebody for 15 minutes just stall is fucking horrible to watch. Yeah. So, in my opinion, for somebody that's exciting is going to keep put on a good match, 15 minutes is great. For most guys, 15 is not, good. I think EBI kind of figured that out with like the 10-minute time limits. That was pretty good because, all right, you can deal with losing 10 minutes of your time, but like 15, 20 minutes of your time when it's like a terrible match is hard for a lot of people, I think.
Are you guys fighting in a bar?
What?
Are you guys fighting in a bar?
Technically, yeah. It's kind of like a little bar, like bar room kind of deal. It's like a big, it's not like usually Fight to Win has slightly bigger venues, I think, than the venue that they have. Cause obviously there's no like live audience, but it's still like a pretty nice venue. There's like a bar on the side and,
they should make like a hybrid where you guys just sit and do shots when a buzzer sounds, and then when another buzzer sounds, you guys wrestle.
I've been saying this for a while. I mean, they started doing that kind of with the what is the name of that organization? They did like they had them smoke weed before their matches or something. I forget what they called it. But it was like a big controversial thing for a while.
But that was like part of like the rule set.
Yeah, exactly. High rollers, that's what they call it. So high rollers, Jiu-Jitsu Invitational.
Clever name too.
And and then the prize was like a pound of weed or something like that, like something ridiculous.
So you wrestle for weed.
Which, by the way,
cash prizes.
Which, by the way, is 100% illegal. Like, I don't know how they fucking even in California. I don't think you can give somebody a pound of weed. Like, it's too much. You're at that point. You're like a drug dealer, right? You can't like.
That's
have that much
for sure.
So I'm kind of surprised that they got away with that, but it is what it is. I mean, people have different opinions about it. Is that the way that I would like the mainstream sport to run? Of course not, but is it fun to have like little offshoots like that like, make it kind of like it would be like saying celebrity boxing ruins boxing. Like, no, like it's just like a little offshoot, like exciting thing for people to watch. That's kind of funny. Like,
it's such a small slice of the market. It doesn't really, it doesn't matter.
So like if it brings some eyes to the sport and like, it's kind of fun and we have a good time, it's all, if you tried to revamp the entire sport so that everything was like that, yeah, then I would have a problem with it. But I think it's, any ideas like that like, we're having fun, like let's do it. I think that's a big part of like putting on a show and making things exciting for people is doing little twists like that. So I'm down, Frankie. Somebody wants to create.
I know you're the go-to guy. So let's just put it out there. If anybody wants to do something really stupid mixed with some grappling, Gary's your guy. Pretty much.
Have you seen
anything.
Chess boxing? I mean, I haven't heard about it in a long time.
No,
but like they'll play a round of chess and then they'll go fight.
Yeah, I don't know how the rules would work for that, but it's amazing.
Yeah,
because chess is like super boring.
In the early days of MMA, they had this thing. I don't know if you guys ever saw it. I forget what the name of it was, but it was arm wrestling mixed with MMA. So they would put their arms duct taped together on a table. And like literally just wrapped with a duct tape on the table, and they're fucking arm wrestling. And the way you could win was you could either pin the opponent with the arm, you could submit the opponent. Like, I guess like people would sometimes arm bar the person over the table, like they just like throw their legs up, or you could knock the person out. So like every fight was pretty much the same. They would get duct tape and then they just start throwing haymakers and kind of trying to move their head with the hand until
it was a hockey fight. It was a hockey fight.
Yeah, but I actually saw one dude arm bar another dude.
Yes, it did happen. I mean, it's a dangerous armbar too, because the fulcrum is the table essentially, and like, it's bad. It was bad.
I don't think there was a lot of thought behind making that sport.
But again, it's like something we can look like. Is it something I really wanted to happen like all the time? Definitely not. But like the fact that we can go back on our YouTube link and like look at that, like it's just hilarious. I love it.
I'm loving this the Russian slap thing.
Dude, I was just gonna say that. Dude. That's like my new favorite sport.
We're just watching brain cells just disappear. It's great.
It's interesting. Like
I have a poster of Oleg in my room. the big dude that just slaps the fuck out of everybody.
It's interesting, like who survives that and who doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like the conversation in boxing, like who has a chin, who doesn't, like that sort of thing. Like sometimes you get a guy up there that's like a big giant dude, and like he gets slapped once and he's like unconscious. You know what I mean? And other times, like I remember I saw his slaps weren't as effective. Like the little guys like wasn't able to like put that big guy, what you said, Oleg, down, but he kept getting slapped by Oleg and had no problem like dealing with the slaps, which is.
Are you talking about the dude full of tattoos?
I don't know. Did the tattoo guy survive or did he get?
Nah, dude, he got.
I thought he got floored.
He got slapped so hard that like powder came out of his head. I don't even know if that was even possible. Like I bet it was probably like, since we caught it in slow mo, like a little piece of his soul was trying to leave. Bro, it's like, did he really? What the fuck came out of his head? I think gel. I think it was hair gel, dude.
I hate to ruin the experience for you. I'm pretty sure they have them like chalk their hands or something before they do the slaps, so that it connects better.
Yeah, I'd rather think of it as that
top
guy's
of his head, man.
It did look impressive though. I love it. But yeah, that's all good fun for sure.
Maybe it was his hair gel.
Maybe
that evaporated.
It's fun, but I wouldn't expect it to be in the Olympics anytime soon.
Yes. I mean, why not?
Chris, did you miss your barbecue?
I did, yeah. I didn't do anything.
I must have done something really special. Well, not without you, because you're like the main chef.
No, I mean we taught my nephews how to do it now, so it's funny. My brother went out yesterday and he said he got pretty tuned up at his friend's house, like, and they went to like kind of like a brunch with my dad. And my poor brother works so damn much, he doesn't really ever get to relax. So he got to get into it a little bit, and then he came home and took like a 3-hour nap, and then he woke up and his sons were barbecuing. So he's just like, all right, I finally got to the point where these kids are paying off.
Nice.
He's like, all right, round 2, let's go.
Yep, exactly.
What did you guys eat, Gary? Did you guys have anything?
Yeah. So what was I gonna say? I celebrated with my stepfather and that side of the family. So it's like my stepfather and my stepbrother and all that. So yesterday after training or whatever, we went to go hang out over there. Nothing crazy, just like barbecuing and that sort of thing. They cooked London broil, which is my least favorite meat.
Yeah. So you didn't get any input in the menu?
No. It was good though. I'll say this: as far as London broil goes, it was better than most of the ones that I have. It wasn't like, dude. Sometimes you get a London broil and people cook that shit, and it's just you chew that shit for hours.
Yeah, and it's like football.
Do they know that you do not like London broil?
I mean, I wasn't. There was
maybe you should be a little bit more vocal about it.
I think. I mean, my mom used to make that a ton for us when we were kids too.
My mom too.
I'm like, listen, if you could. Maybe even I understand why you're choosing this. It's because it's less expensive. But if you could just save up the money and not cook us London broil at all for like a month, and then one day out of the month cook us like an actual steak, I'd rather have that than the 3 agonizing times that we had.
Oh, so you already told her?
Oh, I've complained about it.
Okay, because maybe she was under the impression that you love it.
She's very proud of her London broil skills. So you have to be careful.
My mom used to get it because she couldn't cook, and it's really easy to just throw it in the fucking oven and let it cook for 40 hours and then pull it out and eat just the football for dinner. So
I think that's why. I think that's part of it too. It was just like an easy thing. But yeah, celebration was good. I actually had an impromptu crabbing trip that morning as well.
Crabbing,
that's fun.
Like catching crabs.
Yeah, what you do is you take a 22 and you wait outside the water like this and you fire it. Now, I said that because a friend of mine, like I guess like, you know, it's normal to me. I used to go crabbing with my dad when I was a kid.
Same.
Here and there. So probably like 1-2 times a year. So it was just
totally. Like that's like a Northeast thing. Like we do that.
So I was describing it to one of my friends, and he's like, "You went crab hunting?" I'm like, "Crab hunting?" You make it sound like I got a fucking gun on top of the water.
Sounds way cooler.
You are hunting the crabs.
It does sound way cooler. So we went out there, did that. But like I had no equipment, nothing. So I just like decided to do it on a whim, like Saturday night. And we woke up in the morning and like went crabbing on the boat. It was pretty good. Just got some drop lines, good to go. Caught decent.
When Gary said crabbing, I thought it was it was like lingo for like going to pick up chicks at Jersey Shore, some shit like that.
I'm sure somewhere that is lingo for that. We got like 15, which is like it's not a high number, but it's okay.
So, do you cook them and eat them?
Yeah, we cooked them, eat them. It smells like it makes the whole house smell like shit. But
did you cook them or did someone else cook them?
I cooked them. We bought it. I had to buy a steam pot. Literally had to get everything required for this trip.
Man, you know what's a fucking pain in the ass? Opening them up and just like eating the little tiny legs, and it's like you have to go through like 20 of them to get satisfied, or like
I refuse to do the legs. I'll do the claws, and I eat the inside, like there's like meat in the, like, I guess you would say like the abdomen, underneath the gills.
How big?
And what's that?
How big?
So the smallest crab you're capable of catching legally is a 4.5-inch tip to tip, which
because you actually had a ruler and were measuring that.
No, we did. We actually
really?
did. Yeah, I bring one. Yeah, just in case, because it's hard to tell sometimes. Especially like, man, you'd be surprised, like the crabs that they sell like in the marketplaces. It's arguable whether or not those are proper size. I think that they get away with more because that when they catch, they probably do it with like a big fucking, it's like an industrial thing. So they probably
they do like a big like thing like
they can't
combs
fucking
the bottom.
Sort them out.
Yeah, they're not sorting shit. So they're like a lot smaller, I think. But I try to be good about it, man, because it's nice to be able to go out there and if we all go out there and just fucking take everything and then there's no fucking crabs left, like none of us can enjoy this. So I try to be good about it. Most of the crabs we caught were like probably about 5 inches, but maybe had like one that was like 5.5, 6, which is like a decent size. But they get pretty big, man. Like we certainly didn't have like a lot of big ones.
And what, you throw them back if
they're too small? If they're too small, I don't even
like a big one
sometimes. But if it's arguable, eventually I'll throw it back.
So how fast do you catch? How long does it take to catch one?
It depends. Depends on how quickly they're hitting the boat. But I put 8 drop lines in the water. I usually wait like 5 to 10 minutes, and you usually have at least a bite in 5 to 10 minutes. If you're in a spot and you're not getting a bite every 10 minutes or so on one line, you're probably in a bad spot.
Crabs are really dumb. Like they're really easy to catch.
Because I mean, think about it. Literally, they're in the process of fucking chopping the food and feeding themselves, and then the fucking food just starts
and they're like
going towards the surface, and they just clamp on and hold on to it. They're like, I ain't letting this shit go, And then you come underneath.
What's the food?
It's like bunker. It's like shitty fish that people don't eat.
Okay.
I used to use chicken. They love chicken.
Yeah, you can use chicken. I'm not against it or anything like that, but they say you're not supposed to. I don't know. I don't fucking care.
I fucking love it. We used to do it in the cages. We would sit outside the South Shore, Long Island, and we go in the heart, like by the bay over there, and we just throw our cage in there with chicken, and we'd sit up there and eat fucking sunflower seeds and wait 10 minutes and pull them up and have 20.
So Gary,
the commercial traps are great. That's what he's talking about. So you can put a cage in the water that they can enter, but they can't exit. Yeah. And basically you just sit that in there for the day, and they'll
big
climb.
Ant trap.
There's other traps that are like single traps where you drop to the bottom, and then when you pull it up, the doors close, and then you catch like a few crabs or something. But you can't just leave it there forever. They'll just eat their food and leave because they can leave. But I don't catch any of those anymore.
How many of you ate from like 20 crabs?
What do you mean?
Like how many people ate from that?
I've eaten, or what I ate yesterday?
No. You caught like 20, right?
Oh, yeah, like 15. It wasn't even 20. But
how many people
sat down in a group of 3 of us? We ate like I probably ate like 7 of them, probably more than half.
Were you like full? Were you full?
No. Crab doesn't make you full, man. Like, especially like because of how much you have to do to get the meat. Like, man, I've had all you can eat crab and sat down for hours. I probably ate
burn calories.
Yeah.
Working for the meat.
I don't know how anybody could possibly sustain if you spent all day eating that meat, I don't know if you'd gain a pound. Like if you just spent all day just fucking picking apart crabs and eating it. I mean, if you're dousing it in butter, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's really lean too. Like you'd have to.
I'm not a big butter guy with that kind of stuff. Like maybe when I was a kid I was, but now I enjoy the flavor of it more without butter, to be honest.
So what do you cook them with?
Let's
see if Chris approves.
So if you put them in boiling water, it kind of ruins the flavor because it just soaks all the meat in the water and removes like, you know, whatever is in there, whether it's electrolytes or whatever it is that's flavoring the meat. So you typically use a steamer. So you put a little bit of water and there's like this little metal grate that has holes in it inside the pot, and you put all the crabs inside the pot, and the steam cooks them.
Did you hear him? Did you hear him screaming?
They do start moving. What I do personally to try to make it a little less severe is I don't like wait until the pot is steaming and then throw them in. I put them in before the pot has even boiled yet. So the slower temperature change typically makes it a little bit easier. You don't notice it as much. There's that experiment that they do with the frog where they slowly boil the water and the frog doesn't even realize that he's dying. You know what I mean?
A slow death.
But they do notice, like after a while, when it starts finally like really kicking in, they start squirming and stuff. It's hard, man. Like I hate that that's the way that you have to do it, but there's really not really any other way. You can't really kill them beforehand. It's not an easy.
I don't know. I have no empathy for sea bugs. Those fucking, they don't feel shit.
Yeah. Do I really care that much? No. But do I wish there was a better way to do it? Sure. Like if there was a better way to do it that, you could still cook them that way, I would do it. I don't know what it is, but.
I don't know. How weird are crustaceans? They're literally sea bugs, and we eat them. They're giant sea insects.
Yeah.
If you really look at like a fucking crab or lobsters are crazy looking.
Yeah.
But they're delicious.
Fucking aliens for sure.
Yeah.
Imagine if they were able to get as big as fucking human beings. That'd be fucking terrifying. You know what I mean?
was thinking about that praying mantises. There's been so many videos on praying mantises lately, eating everything. I'm like,
it's like
that
a sci-fi animal.
We'd be fucked. That thing would eat all of us.
I think the issue is the exoskeleton can only get so big before it collapses on itself. But they're like, if it was scalable, like their body structure and everything like that, they would be like way more dominant than we would be.
It's also because of their circulatory system. Like they don't have a circulatory system. It's really their organs are washed in their blood. Like if they don't have a closed system. So it's an open circulatory system. You can only get so big like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
There's a reason they're that size.
Yeah. There's a reason they don't get that big.
Chris, how's LA treating you?
It's good so far, man. I'm not really in LA. I went to LA last weekend. I'm in Orange County, which apparently
that's right.
They tell me is the Florida of California.
We covered this last time,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's wide open here. It's fun. I'm having a good time.
Nice.
I bounced around this weekend. Just kind of checked out. I checked out Laguna Beach on Friday night. That was dope. Little quiet, and then
I need to hook you up with some contacts.
Yes.
Have you been talking to the locals, Chris? Trying to blend in?
Dude, I got more friends here than New York. People are so much nicer.
Oh shit! Nice.
How much nicer?
So Gary, I was telling Chris that he should download that Tinder app.
What? Just in general, just download Tinder.
That Tinder app like it's a new one. Like.
Yeah, that Tinder app that all the kids are talking about. The Tinders.
So yeah, it was just weird the way you said it. Yeah, man. You know what I notice? What I notice is, so I have the pro version because like
Tinder Pro.
You're fucking up if you don't. Like
tell me the difference. Tell me the difference here. I know nothing about any of these.
Problem. So first of all, the pro version probably costs like $50 a year. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. $50 is a pretty low price because if that gets you one chick, that's a win in my right. So you have there's your pro version. And now you have, I think now they let everybody change the location. I'm pretty sure, like from what I've heard. But so you could change, like if I'm not in Los Angeles,
right? I
go, okay, I want to change my location to Los Angeles because I know I'm going to take a trip there in 5 days so that I can start, pre-talking to whoever, right? Originally, that was only something that the pro version can do. I'm pretty sure everybody can do it now. I could be wrong. So that was one of the original appeals. Second appeal is they have some sort of a boost where like more people are going to see your profile faster. Sometimes what I would notice is that like you could go to an area. So there's like, more people could see your profile faster. So like one thing I would notice, because I'm traveling like so quickly sometimes, like I'm going to be in Dallas next for like, I don't know, 3-4 days or something. It's a pretty short period of time, right? So if you start when you get to Dallas, and by the time people have even seen, because it's not like girls, especially girls compared to guys, are like on Tinder all day, like fucking swipe, just waiting, to talk to everybody, right? So it takes a little while. Somebody has to kind of happen upon it.
We all know a couple guys like that.
Ourselves.
Like look at him like.
So this makes your profile show up sooner. Then it'll also tell you ahead of time who has even if you haven't swiped on their thing, who has swiped
gonorrhea, and
who has swiped right for you already. So give you an array of this way you're not just swiping blind, you're swiping against people that you already know have swiped for you. So it sets you up with a different array of options that I think are just more beneficial. So why not? Especially for the low cost of $50. And I am in no way sponsored by Tinder Incorporated.
Gary,
Frank, can you work on that? Send us some emails. Let's get the podcast.
We should have Gary do a Tinder tutorial.
He just did.
And just
he just did.
No,
That was informative.
Like chop it up and put it on YouTube.
Sure.
Very informative.
Yeah, because he's very good at it and very articulate. So.
The funny thing is that you say I'm very good at it. I think total, I've probably met 4 girls from Tinder, period. It's just not a big thing for me at all.
I mean, you're a stud. Plus, you have that cult over there,
Dude, look at his hair. Do you think he needs a fucking dating app?
No,
I
know he doesn't.
To walk outside with hair like that, you can talk to any chick.
Yeah, Gary has a bunch of students that he can just call and fuck whenever he wants. That's what he told me. He told me on the call last week. He told me that last week.
That's what a cult's all about.
Oh my God.
Eyewitness News, where news comes first.
Talking about being a creeper and sliding into DMs. You guys know Chris D'Elia?
Yes.
I know where this is going.
Yes.
So Chris D'Elia is being Me Too'd by a bunch of girls claiming that he slid into their DMs when they were underage, trying to seduce them.
Mm-hmm. So
I've actually seen. I did a little bit of research yesterday, and I saw some screenshots of him.
Yeah, I did too.
Talking to. I only saw one chick. I think that's the only one that's actually posted the screenshots. But
yeah,
there's been a couple.
There's been a few, yeah, for sure.
Man, it's not looking good for him.
Yeah,
no, I like him too, and his specials are hilarious.
I don't understand what the fuck is. Sometimes I think that it's either him. I just don't understand what's going through his head. He could have any chick he wants. He lives in LA. He's famous. He's got money. He's got a following. He's good looking. He's fit. It's a fucking disease.
Maybe he's got no G.
When
you don't know how to talk to girls, you don't know how to
Okay.
talk to girls. It doesn't matter what you
Dude,
look
I've
like.
seen
or
him
what
on
you got.
TMZ with dime pieces, bro.
And maybe that's not it, man. He's not like, okay, so he's got these couple trick some girls who are into it, but he can't really close the deal or meet new girls. Men are. We want to meet as many girls as possible.
Bro, but he's a comedian. He's he has half the battle in the bag, bro. He just needs to make them laugh.
I understand what you're saying, though.
I disagree, though, because I feel like a lot of comedians are all tortured. They're all like.
No, that's true.
A lot of them
That's
are weird,
true.
insecure introverts who have difficulty making real connections with people, so they make people laugh.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I hear that the darker you are inside, the funnier you are.
That's why Gary's hilarious.
That was my biggest concern with getting counseling and stuff like that in regards to the stuff that happened with my dad and my family. I was worried that it was going to make me less funny to heal from any emotional trauma.
No,
wait a minute.
Don't heal.
My answer to all of this is comedy and humor, and you guys are making it so that I don't have to do that anymore. No, but actually it didn't have that effect at all. If anything, it just gives you a different perspective, and I think you could still be funny, working through your shit. But I definitely think that that's a common thread, like Chris said, where these guys have gone through some shit and their way of dealing with it is humor, and that's what kind of fuels their comedy,
The thing is that this guy comes from a good family.
Yeah, money too.
He comes from money. He comes from a tight knit family. So it doesn't seem like he had a rough
he seems like a
upbringing
cool dude too, because
seems like a cool dude,
a
cool dude to hang out with.
Yeah.
Just coming from money doesn't necessarily mean that you just you weren't fucking traumatized when you were a kid.
No, not at all. I'm just weird.
Easily, like you could come from money, and then your dad could just fucking write you a check for your birthday every year, and not be involved in your life. You know what I mean? Like
that's true.
You never know. That's all I'm saying. But my first look at this initially, just because the initial screenshots and things that I saw, and I still haven't seen anything to contradict this yet, but somebody else told me that they did, was that it was him like hitting up girls on Twitter most. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
Twitter.
Right.
And like, you know, the girls were like complaining, oh yeah, he hit me up when I was like 16, this, that, and the other thing. Now, this is what I initially thought. So on Twitter, it's really, really difficult to discern, even more so than any other social media, how old somebody is, because you have a profile photo to work with, and that's literally it. Unless they go apeshit posting photos of themselves. On Twitter, most people just comment on current events and stuff like that. So you have very limited photographic evidence to work with. If they didn't put their age in their bio or something like that, you would have literally no idea how old the person is that you're communicating with. It's not as simple as it is with Instagram, where you could literally look through 30 photos and be like, oh, look, there's her high school graduation. Obviously, this is, you know what I mean?
But also, like you said, Gary, the profile is so much more visible on Instagram than it is Twitter. Twitter, it's like, it's whoever, I never look at someone's profile. I just look at what their tweets are, and only the most recent tweets.
Correct.
Instagram's totally different. It's like, it's right there. You see you got the little profile, people put their age or whatever, their high school in there or whatever. But so one of the girls did actually tell him she was 16. He's like, oh, you're too young. And then he came back anyway.
This is what I didn't see. I didn't see that. Now, that is like, now you're in unforgivable territory.
He literally was like, oh, too young for me. And then like DM'd her like a day later and was like, hey, come to my hotel room.
Yeah, that was my initial look. And then somebody informed me that wasn't the case. So it's quite obvious that, he did know how old they were, this, that, and the other thing. And then that's concerning for sure.
How ironic is it, though, that he's literally played like diddlers, child molesters, like in 2 or 3 different TV shows. He literally played like what he is.
Like a serial killer, like a pedophile.
No, he played a pedophile on Workaholics, and he played
on You.
On You, he was like the underage like stalker guy.
Yeah, I mean, hey man, a lot of people do really well playing characters that are similar to them. You know what I mean? So I hate to say it that way, but
that's rough. But also, I mean, they were all like 5 years ago. Like all the tweets that are coming out. So like what you were saying earlier, Frankie, like they're like, oh, he's this, he's that. Well, it's like he just kind of blew up like in the past year or two. So like he really wasn't like a big deal then. Not that it's okay to hit on young girls, but
of course not.
But maybe what you think all these chicks were just sitting on this until they were over 21.
Nah, I think one girl just probably pulled the trigger, and then the other ones were like, "Hey, he did that to me too," or they wanted attention, or like made up a story. You never know.
Yeah, but even more, of a reason, to be fucking careful, man. You know what I mean? Just make sure check your shit out.
I saw a clip of his podcast where he goes that girls aren't teenagers anymore. They go from 12 to 30. Like you can't tell, right? Yeah. It's either you're 12 or you're fucking 30.
He's not wrong.
30.
He's not wrong.
So.
Yeah. But I do remember there being one time where I got added to like a group on Twitter, right? And it's just a bunch of random people. Don't know who they are, right? Now, when people add me to random groups on the internet, I like to fuck with them because who the fuck are you? I don't know you. I'm gonna mess with you. Like I'm gonna post some shit that you never wanted to fucking see. Right? So they post.
What do you mean they add you to groups?
So you can make groups on Twitter, you can make groups on Instagram, and you can add whoever the fuck you want. Like,
okay, gotcha.
Even if they don't follow you, nothing. Like you can just make a group, and then it's like 30 people, and all of a sudden they're in that group, and you're getting notifications that it's like a DM group.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of a sudden you're getting notifications. So I
hate that, by the way.
What type of groups? Like, are they trying to sell you something, or is it just like?
Typically, it's just like a bunch of MMA fans or something like that.
Okay.
Chatting shit to each other.
So what do you?
Jiu-Jitsu fans.
What do you post, Gary?
So I'll just post like raunchy ass memes and shit like that, and then before I know it, like
Two girls, one cup.
I see in one of the comments that like somebody's like 16, and I'm like, fuck, man, like you can't you know, it's not, I wasn't even trying to pick anybody up or anything like that. I'm just posting like inappropriate shit that you probably shouldn't send to a fucking 16.
Just Gary being Gary.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh man, like I gotta be real careful before I fucking like post shit to random people. You know what I mean? Like I gotta like really look and do some research or ask them like how, you know, if I'm gonna like be in a random Twitter group, I gotta be like, yo, is everybody fucking over 18 here? I'm not gonna post like, you know, some porn meme or something like that, you know? So
well, I mean, you're kind of like the coronavirus. Like eventually it's gonna happen to you. You know, you're gonna get me too. It's just a matter of time.
But honestly, like that in that situation with a group where you were not like, it wasn't like you chose to be in the group.
Yeah.
I don't know how much the onus is on you for you posting to a chat board. Essentially, is what it is.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
I
you
mean,
don't know who's in there.
the government's not going to care when you get tried for that shit.
Yeah,
you know?
it's not. At the end of the day,
Somebody's
nobody's
mom
gonna say.
goes on their computer and goes, "Oh my God, who the fuck sent, you know, this picture to you or whatever the
Who
case
the,
may be."
who the
guy.
hell's this Garry
When
Tonon
you-
guy?
When you go to fucking jail, they're not going to give a shit whether or not
She's
you
like, Tonan the Barbarian? Who is this?
made.
Oh my God, what a degenerate! Call the cops.
Yeah, I was gonna
So-
bring that up to you, Frankie, yesterday. I was like, oh, we got to talk about the Chris D'Elia thing.
Yeah,
But
man. I mean,
you are ahead of the game as usual.
everybody's pretty devastated. I know he was boys with Joe Rogan.
All those guys, Kreischer, Schaub, all those guys.
Shit, man. Well, I feel bad, but if it's like, I mean, there's no way it's not true, you know?
And this one's rough. Like the Louis C.K. thing, I wasn't really crazy offended by that, but you know what he was doing.
Well,
like,
he was doing it to over, you know, he was
to
doing
grown
it to
women,
like,
and also
grown-ass
like he
women.
never touched anybody. You know,
and
they all
in,
could have
in
left.
almost every case, from what I remember, he actually physically asked them if it was
Yeah.
okay to do what he did.
Right.
Ahead of time, except for maybe the one where he like started jerking off while somebody was on the phone. But like at the same time, like, is that really like what could you actually do? Like anytime I'm on the phone with anybody, like like they could do that to me. Like Frankie does that to me all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
It makes
All
me
the time.
uncomfortable, but
That's why we were late. That's why we were late this morning. Like he was rubbing one out quick before the show.
Call my friends up FaceTime and just rub one out.
Frank, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? I'm almost there. Hold on.
dog.
But like even like Louis C.K. like he's got his
Say
circle now.
something.
I think he'll be
Say
fine.
something. Hurry up.
Yeah, this is a hard one to get over and get past.
Yeah, you don't fuck
because
with
of the age
you don't
range.
fuck with kids. You don't. Fuck
He's
with
young and he's got a lot of time to like recoup, but this is gonna take a while.
Nah, he's done.
Yeah, you think so? You think he's
Done,
canceled?
dude. I think
Damn.
he's done.
I think it'll be hard for him to get put on like shows and stuff like that.
Nah, he's
but I don't-
definitely not coming back on shows.
But I think he could still do. I think he could still do comedy fairly easily.
Yeah, he could still do comedy.
I don't think he's gonna have a problem there. I think like
But
initially, like you guys just said, like initially people are gonna be like, oh no, we don't want to book him on a show or whatever. And then he's gonna come out with a special where he talks about what he did and how he's changed, and you know.
He's a pretty talented guy. He could probably go into like producing or something like that because I think his father was a big time Hollywood producer, right?
No idea.
You know, yeah, I think you know what he came out with like a statement saying that he's done stupid stuff and blah blah blah, but he didn't really specify. I feel like he fucked up there being that way.
Yeah, he's been pretty silent, right? Last couple days, like when this is really.
Yeah.
Sure. Honestly, though, like any amount of apologizing at this point, to me, like would be pretty retarded. Like it'd be useless to me. Like I don't want to hear him come out and apologize. You know why? Because it would be a fake apology. Let's be 100% honest. You're going to tell me that all of a sudden you feel bad for what you did once everybody figures out that you did it.
No, you're 100% right. Like you'd
Doesn't
be
work
putting out an apology because like you have to, you know, like it's,
Bro,
He's
I would
not-
double down and say, listen, I love pussy. I'm addicted to pussy. And
Before he comes out and gives an apology, like I would have to see him go and like do counseling or something like that. You got to go through some shit before you could actually convince me that you actually feel like what you did was wrong. Does that make sense? Or that you feel remorse or whatever the case may be? Because there's no way you just wake up tomorrow now that everybody's fucking attacking you and you're like, oh man, like it was a mistake to do what I did. Like, yeah, of course you think it's a mistake now because the fucking whole world
you're
is
canceled everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody hates.
You know,
Is
so
like, the world's
like
coming
what
down
does
on
it really mean? You know what I mean? Until the person actually does something to no longer be the way that they are. You know
I
what
agree
mean?
with that.
They got to reform. They got to recover somehow. You know, same way that like an alcoholic would have to, or whatever the case.
I like what Frankie said. Double down. Just be like, I'm a sex addict, bro. I need to go for counseling. Like I'm a sick person. Like,
Sure.
Go that route.
Yeah.
Yep.
No. Well, that's appropriate though, to say like, hey, listen, I recognize, you know, now that there's consequences here, that you know, this is unacceptable, whatever. So I'm gonna go do A, B, and C to try to fix it.
Do yourselves a favor. Watch the Workaholics episode where he's a pedophile. It's fucking hilarious.
Gotta
It's
check that out.
probably
Yeah.
even more funny now than it was before.
So this guy called Bubba Wallace is the only black driver in NASCAR, right?
Mm.
And he found a noose in his team's garage at Talladega Super Speedway on Sunday. And now, like, the racing organization is investigating it. So someone left a noose there. Just after hours, someone flew a Confederate flag over the Alabama track to protest NASCAR. So now they're like a bunch of people are asking to defund NASCAR.
So let me ask a question.
That's the answer to everything now.
They found a noose in a garage.
Well, in a garage of the only African American driver.
Oh, so sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
So they basically they're suggesting that someone made a noose, put it in this guy's garage.
Someone did that. Yes, they made a noose and put it in the only black driver.
Somehow, in my mind, when you initially told me that, I guess I was like spacing out. I thought that like they just found the noose like in like a random white guy's garage or something, and they're like, he's a racist. Okay, yeah, no, wow, that's fucking fucked up, man. Yeah. What the fuck?
Alabama, isn't
and
it?
again, but it's to this whole defund. Now we're going to defund NASCAR because of some fucking racist piece of shit who did that. Like NASCAR didn't put the noose in the guy's garage.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I was actually
really
surprised how quickly NASCAR responded to the idea of banning the Confederate flag at their events. I mean,
yeah, that was.
They right away, as soon as they got pressure, they were like, okay, yeah, this is wrong. We won't do it. You know?
Yeah.
Okay. You know?
I thought that was cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly it seems like they're on board as far as that's kind of concerned. And here's the reason that I was surprised with that. Not because it was, obviously it was the right move, but the reason I was surprised by it is because I feel like there's probably a large percentage of people that is a fan base of theirs that is definitely going to be impacted by that. You know, let me put it to you this way. They're definitely not gaining more fans by making that decision. Like, more people are not going to turn on their television and now watch NASCAR because they decided to do that. Does that make sense? I'm not saying that it wasn't the right decision. I'm just saying that's hard from a company perspective to go, oh yeah, we have this decision we're going to make. We know it's going to lose us fans for sure. You know, it's going to cause us problems, but it's the right thing to do. So we're going to do it anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean?
In NYPD, a cop uses a chokehold during an arrest and was suspended without pay. So now they're cracking down on chokeholds, which, Gary, what do you think about that?
So,
you being the chokehold specialist.
So strangleholds are interesting. So first off, let's just talk about like the safety of strangleholds overall. Okay. They've been being practiced by judoka for like thousands of years, essentially, with limited to no evidence of them being fatal under those circumstances, right? Under the circumstances of sport, right? So people are strangled, they go unconscious.
You guys hear that? You guys hear that? Give me a second, man.
Yep.
Someone's at my fucking door. Hold on.
No problem, buddy.
This is great. I'm really curious to see what you have to say about this.
We're about to see Frankie get his house.
It's gonna be a fucking it's gonna be an attack. We're just gonna see gunmen running across the living room.
Oh my god! Imagine.
Oops.
It's a nice house, though. Look at this.
Where
he's at right now. I don't know if this is his house or he's at a friend's house again.
You never
know with Frankie.
Those fucking wily Dominicans. You never know. I think that might be his though. I think his wife's got a nice little interior design sense.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about that.
We were commenting on your interior design in your house while you were gone. Just looking in the rooms.
It's pretty gay. So my wife did all this shit.
No, it looks
That's exactly what I said.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I tell you what, there's a lot less pillows than I would have thought.
Very classy.
Are you fucking kidding me? Are you being sarcastic?
I don't see any pillows in the shot that you got right now. So. Oh yeah, there's a lot. That's a lot of pillows.
Dude, look at women love accessories.
Bro, look at
wow.
Fucking pillows. Bro,
look at the table. There's so much shit on the table. Women are awesome.
Like per couch, you need 2 pillows maybe.
We got like 5.
5 excessive.
Yeah, people
Now
can't
you
even sit on my
the
couch. You
Yeah,
can't.
guys,
Can't
couches
sit
are
on
not
the
for
couch.
sitting. No one here had an Italian grandmother. You don't sit on a couch.
Yeah, I remember
The
having a
couch is
couch as a
just for
kid.
decoration.
Where my mom's like, "Yeah, this is for decoration. You don't sit here." And I'm
Yep.
just like, "What?"
What? Doesn't make sense.
How do you even tell a child that? Like, you can't. There's just no. I mean, as an adult, I don't understand it either. But like, at least I get it. But
My
geez.
granny Anne Marie, she had a lot of rules, a lot of towels you couldn't touch, a lot of couches that were not for sitting.
Oh man, if you have decorative towels, I want to let you know I wipe my fucking hands on those if I can tell they're decorative, I'm wiping my hands on them. I'm gonna put them in the fucking sink.
Dude,
Fuck your decorative towels.
We have some of those with like our initials, and I use them like before eating lunch, and every time I fucking use those towels, my wife just looks at me like in disgust. I'm like, they're fucking tan towels. What the fuck? You know?
Can't use my own towels in my own house. Sweating is horrible.
You're like Gary and just fucking wipe
House
my
is a
ass.
prison on planet bullshit. Galaxy, this sucks camel dicks.
Next time she gives me shit, I'm gonna go and wipe my ass with those towels.
Yes.
Oh fuck.
All right. So let's get back to the strangleholds because I think that was an important.
Yeah, that's an important topic.
conversation to have. Okay, so this has been being done for thousands of years relatively safely in sport. Okay, in competition, etc. Now, of course, in competition, there's a referee and everything. So when somebody goes unconscious, they stop the stranglehold and it doesn't, continue. There's definitely been cases, especially in judo, because now in modern day, the referees are very hands off. They're like not allowed to like make contact or something like that with the fighters. They're supposed to kind of stay standing. They don't like you'll see wrestling referees like get down and like look at pinning situations and stuff. And like judo referees don't do that. They kind of stay at a distance. So there's times where somebody gets strangled for longer than they should really get strangled. Right. And it, whatever, they pass out and they wake them back up and there's really little to no repercussions. Right. However, where strangleholds are happening now is in the street with untrained individuals that don't really know what they're doing. And there is no referee to pull somebody off when somebody gets, knocked unconscious or whatever the case may be. And on top of that, you are dealing with a lot of individuals who may either have like pre-existing conditions that would make that a little bit more dangerous than the average person, or when pre-existing conditions that are caused by drug use, right? So you got some dude like amped up on a bunch of drugs that could impact your heart or something like that, and
coke, amphetamines, whatever.
Or they're super drunk or whatever the case. Okay, now you're talking about probably a higher risk of death. I mean, when people are practicing strangleholds in judo, nobody's amped up on meth or fucking drunk out of their mind when they're doing these strangleholds, right? So it's a little bit different.
It's like fighting zombies.
Sure. So I do see some danger involved. Now, in general, on like an average person, it would take like a considerable amount of time. We're talking like somewhere in the range of like 2 minutes to actually kill someone, holding continual strangle pressure. That's why in order to do it, most of the time you would need some sort of a tourniquet if you're really looking to kill someone with a strangle, because it's fucking exhausting to hold something like this for fucking 2 minutes. Like that's hard.
Isometric hold for 2 straight minutes is tough.
Sure. Hard to do typically.
Yeah.
And again, there's extenuating circumstances, like I said, like with people having, heart problems or whatever. It's certainly possible that it could happen sooner than that. But anyway, what I'm getting at, there is certainly more danger than other things that you could do.
But is there more danger than because if I'm a cop, I'm allowed to blast you in the head. I can punch you in your fucking face. I can knock you unconscious. Which all those other things, pre-existing conditions, that can kill you too. Sure. And even if you're 100% healthy, if I punch you in your head and you fall down, hit your head on the curb, you die. Yeah. Like that's okay. Like you can do that, but you can't strangle.
There needs to be it needs to be a really, really well articulated part of their training that doesn't just happen like one time.
I agree 100%. Like how many guys have you choked unconscious in your life, Gary?
What's that? Oh,
how many guys have you choked unconscious in your life?
Tens.
It's part of his program.
Right. Yeah. But like even in practice, like just like getting to that point, like these guys have never choked anyone out. They have no idea what happens when the guy goes out. They don't know that he's even out. probably.
so
So,
that needs
that's
to be
where the training
really,
aspect come in.
really broken down and really explained, and if they're going to be using it. But I will say this, to ban it as a whole seems kind of silly, and here's why I say it seems kind of silly, because police officers have guns. So now so a gun is obviously far more likely to kill somebody than a stranglehold is, right?
Mhm.
So now you're taking something that they could use that's below the level of the killing instrument that they have, which is a gun or a knife that they might have on them. You're taking away one of their resources to potentially not kill someone, right? And just subdue them in some sort of a grappling situation or whatever the case may be. I think banning the stranglehold, it seems kind of silly. What most police forces had done prior to this, from what I had heard from police officer friends, is that they were not allowed to use strangleholds unless deadly force was allowed under the circumstances of the arrest. So in the same case that they would be allowed to use their gun, they would be allowed to use a stranglehold, right? So if they felt like their life's in danger, maybe the guy has a knife or something, or he tried to steal your weapon, whatever the case. Okay, now you're the same. That's the same instance like we just saw with the guy who stole the police officer's taser, then pointed the taser at the police officer, and then that guy got shot. So under the current laws, that's fully permissible for a police officer to do. The guy is attempting to use a weapon on you. Okay, you are now allowed to kill that person to protect yourself, right? That's the way that it works for police officers. So for strangleholds, I don't see why you wouldn't want that tier to be there, because now you're forcing okay, now I can't strangle the guy. Now I have to use my gun if I feel like my life is threatened.
Yeah.
You're kind of making it so they have to go to that level.
I think they're going to start banning chokeholds across the country.
They will, but
Yeah,
I don't.
this is the world we live in. We're gonna defund the police. We're gonna defund NASCAR. We're gonna ban this for everything is so over the top.
Chris,
It's
Every
like
reaction.
the difference between banning alcohol, right,
Yeah.
or like trying to teach people to do it responsibly and like regulating it, and you understand, like banning things just because stupid people that don't understand how to use them properly is
Cancel
probably
culture.
I think
Everything's heightened.
they need to address the problem at like its root, which is these guys need more training. They just need more training. Chris, ask
more
your
training
brother
with
how much
less money, according to the public.
Well, if they're like if they're in the precinct, right?
Yeah.
They should train every day.
Right.
You know.
They're street soldiers. They need to be in shape. They need to be properly trained. They need to know how to use their bodies.
Sure.
Chris, ask your brother how much training is asked of you or mandatory.
I know, none.
What do you mean? Like you don't train?
None.
Like
No, they don't have to train. It's recommended.
all.
It is. No, they're like they have discounts on doing training outside of like doing martial arts training and doing striking, kickboxing, grappling.
They probably have to. They're probably
that's fucked up
mandated
right
to do
there.
a defensive tactics course.
Yeah, in the academy they do a lot of training, and then that goes away, and then they might have some stuff that they do have some training. Like my brother works on like major teams, like he works on like anti-crime teams and anti-gun teams and narcotics and things like that, and he does have like training sessions, and they could be a couple days long, but like they're few and far between. If they were once a year, I'd be surprised. They're probably they might even be less than that.
Sure.
He's like, I got training this week, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
I think it
Maybe
should
I'll
be
something.
mandatory to train
Should
at
be all
least
the
like
time.
an hour a day.
Yeah, it should be
like
every
30.
week. They have some kind of organized,
Or
group
three, at
training
least.
session.
Or at least 3 times a week where they
These
have
guys-
to do it.
Dude, these guys' jobs are hard and dangerous and very physical, and they are dealing with a lot of people who are very, they deal with a lot of violent people.
I do think that there is a conversation on the other side. Like, I'm not really like, for the defund the police argument, this, that, and the other thing. But I do think that a part of the reason that they have the struggle that they have and they are so busy and they have so much problems is because on the other end of things, we aren't doing a very good job to reform people that are, whether it is mentally insane, whether it is criminals, whatever it is, our tools of allowing those people to recover and reintegrate into society are not very good. And what's compounding on that as a problem is now, in addition to that, because we have a bunch of people pushing back on jailing people, this, that, and the other thing. Now, like anybody that goes to jail for almost anything just gets out immediately before their trial, right? So that you got these repeat offenders over and over and over again with no no recovery, no nothing, like no counseling that's happening to help these guys try to get better. So it basically makes it so that the cops have more and more work, right? So there definitely needs to be a conversation that's had to help people become better, human beings and better citizens.
There's also guys on the other side of that who are career fucking criminals. There are people that are opportunistic and just doing whatever they can to get a fucking head, and they have no idea about law. They don't give a shit. My brother has rap sheets of these guys, and it's just like some guys there are guys walking the streets amongst us who are killers. They murder people. They shoot people all the time. Like there's the different kind of people out there. Like you're not reforming that guy. Like
Absolutely. I agree
but there are those guys out there. People think everything's all rainbows and fucking sunshine. Nope. Like there's some nasty people in these streets.
1,000% agree with you. 1,000% agree with you.
Gary,
there is a debate for that as well.
Have you ever given any seminars to cops?
I've never done a full seminar just for the police force. I've obviously had students and people that come to seminars that are from the police force and things, and I have conversations with them occasionally. I've taught like a private with a police officer, friend of mine, to kind of explain some of the things that maybe they could do better to help restrain people. I have some guys that teach defensive tactics that train at my gym, so I've discussed ideas with them and stuff as well. So I've never done like a pure seminar. I have a friend of mine, Matt Pletcher, is my wrestling coach, who's trying to organize something where myself, Gordon, and Tom the Blast are going to get together and maybe do some seminars or some educational workshops and things to kind of start pushing in that direction. As a start. It's not a fix, obviously, but as a start. So we're definitely working towards that direction. But I haven't done any specific seminars for law enforcement yet.
Chris. Is it like so? Who's in charge of like a precinct? Like who's the one that makes the decisions and stuff?
I mean, because there's so many different leaders in a precinct, and it's a lot of red tape, because there's so many things that can go wrong. Like a sergeant is obviously like a top guy there, but like everyone has a boss, everyone has a superior, and you have to check in. There are a lot of checks and balances in that way.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out like who can implement that. Like if you were in charge of a certain precinct, like can you implement a program?
Everything comes from money. So where's the funding going to come to trickle down to get to that point? It's there's a lot. Like I said, a lot of red tape to get through all that. I think it would have to come from literally like the mayor. The mayor would have to say like, all right, we need to enact these programs, get this going. It has to come from like literally the top. Gotcha. Which is why it's so difficult to make this stuff happen. Like my brother, he's a secondary detective, or maybe even his boss couldn't just be like, all right, this is what we're doing now. Like, because where's the money coming from? He's going to have to reallocate some money from somewhere else, which I don't know if he can even do that. So it's a complicated process.
So talking about cancel culture, an almost 100-year-old statue of Teddy Roosevelt in New York City's Museum of Natural History is set to be removed.
Teddy?
Yeah, claiming it explicitly depicts black and indigenous people as subjugated and racially inferior. So the statue is of Teddy on a horse with a Native American on one side and an African American on the other side. And he's on a horse and they're both on foot below him. So they're saying that this is insensitive. But it's history, right?
Right. Well, that's the other thing. It's like that's.
I mean, you can't erase history. So
right. So if that was a picture, obviously you can't take pictures back then. But if that was a picture, then what? It's like do we cancel the picture? Like because it was a statue, it was a piece of art made.
I guess where like I'm at in my head with all of this, because I go back and forth and I kind of try to put myself in other people's shoes. Like initially, like my reaction is just like, come on, guys, like it's a statue that was made. We had history, just like let it go. But in the same regard, like. To have to look at some statue or something that makes you feel like that, inferior or whatever the case may be, does kind of suck. It's like a reminder every day. And the fact that those are in public places, it's not just like a private, thing, because that's outdoors, right? That's outside the museum.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So like the fact that happens, especially in public, areas, I think the public has a argument to try to get things like that removed if that's something that they don't like, right?
But where do we draw the line? Where does the line of historical
exactly.
context matter?
Exactly. So then, here's where I start to have a problem with it, right? So now you have and this conversation's been going on probably for the last decade or more, the idea of banning Huckleberry Finn books and things like that, Tom Sawyer, right? So because of the frequent use of the N-word and the depiction of
use, yeah,
and the depiction of that era, but that was how that era was, right? And big part of that book was explaining that and how it was wrong. Essentially, is part of the reason that you read that book in school, right? And by doing that, banning a book like that just because it has that word in it, now I think you're actually detracting from someone's knowledge and understanding of what used to happen. Or to say to be in a history class and not teach people about Teddy Roosevelt or something specifically because he did X, Y, Z, right? That's where you have problems. So that's where I would say we start drawing the line, right? And when that stuff starts to happen, we need to push back. With statues and things, it's hard, man. And again, from my perspective, I don't see a reason for it, but I understand from their perspective.
I mean, I guess unless you can really relate to being an African American or a Native American, I guess you really can't know what to feel. But I'm sure
sure.
they don't feel good when they see a statue like that. So
sure. I mean, yeah, I guess you could always go back, and of course it's an extreme example, but you could always go back and be oh, well, if they put up statues of Hitler, doing shit in Germany, right? It would be weird, right?
Yeah.
For people to have to look at that. That would
be, but he's literally across the board an evil person. Teddy Roosevelt's not.
So it's a little different, right? Yeah. So it's hard to find that. It's hard to find that historical example where the person is not as
Teddy Roosevelt's kind of the opposite. He's a really revered person and a very important part of our actual history.
Sure.
And he enacted a lot of things that are still important today.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
He's getting the axe dog.
Yeah, I think that's the important part of the conversation in general for us too, is to recognize that there are leaders and people in our past history and things like that did some good for society on some level, and then also had issues, also did things that were not good. And I think that we should recognize that overall as human beings, and it's important to see that and understand that and be hey, listen, this person wasn't all good. They weren't just the fucking amazing person. They had their flaws, and take what they did that was good, learn from it, try to replicate that, and the things that they did not so good, fucking don't do that, right? It's going to be really hard for people to find human beings on this earth that they can idolize wholly and perfectly without them having any flaws and without them doing something that they disagree with or whatever they can. It's impossible. Nobody's perfect. They really aren't.
No one's perfect, and everyone's done things that are wrong and can be, whatever context you want to look at it.
So with everything,
very bad.
Everything going on,
except for Chris D'Elia, because what he did was not cool.
Yeah, all this cancel culture, the Me Too, pedophilia. I think we should bring an expert on the subject, and a revered member of society, Vinny the Chin. We're gonna have him on later on this week just to cover all those topics.
I have a feeling that he's gonna have no problem with a lot of the underage stuff. I don't think he's gonna have any issue with underage girls.
I think it would be cool to have Vinny come on, and then and then with Vinny, in the same podcast, have some sort of social services expert or something like that. Somebody who's a counselor or somebody who actually
someone who works in HR.
Oh my god, that would be such a fucking train wreck.
And they have to explain to Vinny Vinny, this is why you can't give coke to underage girls. And no.
But it's good coke. What do you mean?
I don't understand.
It's fucking quality.
Right.
I only quality coke.
It's gonna be like that Sasha Cohen show.
Yeah.
But we'd have to get someone cool who understood that Vinny is Vinny, and we're not gonna change.
No, because then you can't get that priceless cringy moment.
Oh, dude, but he's so offensive. They're gonna just get off. They're gonna close the computer.
Yeah. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Like they're gonna be just a waste of time.
That's a very good idea, Gary.
That
I
is a
think
good
that would be
idea.
fun. I think it would be fun. It's a good
brainstorm
like
on
contrast.
that.
I think we could do that in a bunch of different regards. You know, find like some crazy characters and pit them against like actual experts in the field. And
100%.
That'd be fun and educational.
it's kind of what I feel like South Park does sometimes. Like they do a really good job, I think, of showing like two sides to every coin, like perspectives, and it could kind of help show how like an extremist viewpoint, versus like, a more moderate and conservative, like educated viewpoint. And then, you kind of flip flop and go back and forth. And, it helps you see the kind of logic failures in some of the arguments on both sides.
It's Chris's fitness tips he's got for you. He's got the little tips. He's gonna give it all to you. Just the tip. The little fitness tip. He's gonna give it all to
Chris, you got anything for us?
Actually, a little bit of a kind of a anecdotal thing and a little bit of an update. So I have a friend who has been vegan for like 15 years or so, and recently in the last couple of years had a really, really bad gastrointestinal distress, and like really bad, like always feels bloated, like distended belly, like energy levels are kind of fucked up. And he's been talking to me about it for a while now, and I was like, try some of these different things. He went to every doctor possible. I was like, he got checked for like an ulcer, H. pylori, bacterial infection, everything's fine. His blood work's fine, everything's good. He's like, bro, he's like, what else could it be? I'm like, dude, it could be your diet. And it was the last thing you wanted to hear. You know, I'm like, he's like,
what do you mean? I'm fucking vegan, bro.
Yeah. Well, no, and he's literally like, Brandon, he's like, I'm so uncomfortable so often. He's like, I would even go back to eating meat if it would help in any way you think. So I was like, it's a little, it's a little intense and it's a little, aggressive, but I've heard really good anecdotal empirical evidence that carnivore is really good for a gut reset. So if you went carnivore for 2 weeks or a month, because you're eating no fiber, there's no probiotics, there's no prebiotics, it kind of washes out your gut and you kind of restart. And a lot of the inflammation that you have going on could be reset by a carnivore diet. And he's like, really? And I sent them a bunch of like articles and some science behind it. I'm like, it makes sense. I'm like, I've never seen it happen. I've never, it's never, whatever. I just see people say it. And like, obviously everyone's a zealot for their dietary approach. But I'm like, it could be something. I'm like, you've tried a lot of other things. He is 3 weeks in. Yeah. And his symptoms have all gone away.
Damn.
And he's been going back to like running, and he does jiu-jitsu, and he's going back to rolling. He's like, bro, I feel great. He's like, I feel awesome. He's like, my energy levels are way better. He's like, I don't have the bloating. He's had a few like setbacks here and there from certain foods. Like for example, he had salmon one night. He's like, dude, everything came back. I'm like, what'd you eat yesterday? He's like, well, I had salmon for the first time on this thing. And I'm like, all right, well, don't eat salmon. Yeah. And then he cut that out and again went right back to normal. He's been living on like ribeye steaks, bacon. Yeah. I got him to eat liver a couple days ago.
Did you send him an invoice?
Nah, it's my dude. Sorry. It's my boy. Known him forever. But it's really cool to see like how that's worked, like to watch. And I said, I was like, yo, bro, keep me posted on everything. I want to know how
Chris gets a fucking boner.
And every
I love this data. I love this data.
Every vegan listening to this is like, he just wasn't doing it right.
Right, exactly.
Being a vegan correctly.
Listen,
and
can you make veganism work? Sure. Anyone can make a lot of things work. I'm like, are you going to be the best optimized version of yourself? No. Do not argue with me that it's going to make you a better athlete or better at anything like that. Can you live on it? Absolutely. Do I think it's a good idea? I don't. But humans are omnivores. There's no argument to that at all. You cannot show me anything that tells me that humans are not able to eat meat and plant matter together. So if you're going to be the most optimized human animal that we are, you got to eat some meat. But I'm not saying go carnivore. Like I want to do it just to try it one day. Sure. But like I don't suggest anyone do that for their life. Yeah. But my boy, he's 3 weeks in. And I'm so surprised. Like, can you imagine going from like a vegan to carnivore? Like literally, he's at my house on a Sunday, and he's talking to me. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna start this week." He's like, "My shopping cart's gonna look really different."
Like, it's weird.
Did he have like a transition period where he felt like shit, or that the meat made him sick?
I was really expecting that, and told him like, dude, listen, like it's probably going to be rough for the first at least week, maybe 2, maybe even longer. And he really wasn't. Like his energy levels were like pretty straight. He did get foggy like 10 days in. He was like, yeah, I think the, I'm getting into that kind of that keto, like low energy feel, but it didn't last long at all. I'm really surprised how easily he was able to transition to it. He's Italian, Irish heritage. So, I feel like both cultures do eat a lot of meat, and like he's not for so long that maybe his body's just kind of accustomed to that or genetically predisposed.
I feel like there's a little bit of an argument that can be made for like any diet of a human being that, you can have little minor things that irritate, an individual. Like, we have food allergies that are extreme. Some people literally they would die if they ate peanut butter, but then we have other food allergies like, some people like slightly gluten intolerant or something where like it's not the end of the world. They're just gonna like get the shits after they eat bread or something. Right. So I mean, if that's true and that's happening in one area, I'm sure that can happen across the board. So, for maybe that individual too, like maybe all the different things that he was having as, having a vegan diet or whatever, it just doesn't do well for his body. Right.
Well, like you said, like a lot of people have like little intolerances and plants in nature, they have their built-in self-defenses to not get eaten, and a lot of it are like plant toxins and things like that. Sure. And for us, it might not be an issue, like you said. It might be just like maybe an upset stomach for 5 minutes, or whatever. And actually, some of them can be beneficial because you have like a hermetic effect where even like a slight amount of toxin makes you, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, kind of thing, which is actually a real thing. So some of those toxins, but maybe just there's a threshold to how much of that you're ingesting can have an overall inflammatory response, and that's when you get into that kind of that they call it they call it a cytokine cascade. That was one of the problems with Corona and how it was killing people, or COVID rather, because you're having like almost like a systemic inflammatory response. That's why people are having so much trouble with their lungs and their cardiovascular system.
Sure.
So we all have a threshold, like how much can you deal with? How much negativity or intolerance can your body deal with at any one time? But as a reset, that was kind of the idea when I told him, like, just do this for a couple weeks, see what happens. And so far so good. And then he wants to transition back, and I'm like, sure, absolutely, that makes sense. He's like, I'll probably keep in a little bit of plant animal food. Like, good.
That's super interesting though.
Yeah,
I haven't heard things like that before, because like you guys said, I haven't watched that documentary. Wasn't there some documentary or something they
Game
put
Changers
on about how everything everything about eating meat was just inferior, and it's obvious that it's you're gonna perform better and do better with only eating plant foods and this, that, and the other thing. So you got information and shit like that out there. It's interesting to see a real life example, even though if it's only just one person
it's an N of one, but still interesting. Where
that wasn't good for somebody.
And it's funny because I had heard that almost exactly like his symptoms. I was listening to a podcast and I sent it to him. I'm like, he goes, dude, these are my exact symptoms. I'm like, yeah, it's from what you told me. And the guy did the same thing. He went from eating very, very few animal products to full carnivore and transitioned that way. And I was just like, I told him, like, dude, I don't know if this is going to work. There's not a lot of science. There's not a lot of study like of this stuff done, but I've heard exactly what you're talking about. Been helpful to do this. So let's give it a try. And he did. And so far it's pretty interesting.
When do you leave, Garry?
I leave on Thursday. So I leave Thursday morning, arrive like a little bit before before noon. And then I'll have to do my weight cut like as soon as I get there.
You're in Dallas, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to Vegas this weekend. They got the UFC.
Nice.
Our buddy John Volante's fighting.
Oh, nice.
Big
nice.
John, yeah.
I didn't know he was fighting. That's crazy. That's good.
He fights
Are
Saturday.
you gonna be allowed inside?
I don't know. I don't know how tight they're going to be. Like I know from dealing with the Top Rank in the boxing, whatever. Like I'm not going to go to the show. Obviously, they're not having fans, but I'll go watch it with some buddies of mine out in Vegas, and then I'll get I'll maybe celebrate with John after the fight when they leave. If they're in a bubble or whatnot.
Sure. Yeah. I think I'm going to be cornering in the Middle East, like on that where they do the island thing soon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Fight Island.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going with Garry.
I wonder what it's going to be like, though. I'm slightly worried that I'm going to be trapped there for like 10 days and we just literally can't go or do anything at all.
Oh, yeah,
So
100%.
the boxing shows that I'm commentating, like they have, it's in Top Rank at the MGM Grand, and they call it the bubble. And dude, I talk to everybody who's in there, they fucking hate it. Like you literally need like an escort to go anywhere, and they have one floor.
Yeah, I usually don't bring my computer. I think I'm gonna bring my computer so that I have something like I can start working on some shit if I fucking feel trapped,
Yeah, you're probably gonna be in a room, and you're gonna have limited access to a gym and food and whatever. It's
yeah. I mean, hey man, I don't need much to be happy. I mean, I got my phone and I got a gym and I can work out. Whatever.
As long as you have that internet access for your little porn hub.
It's cool to be able
to. All right. I gotta go to the gym.
I'm
All right, bitches.
Keep talking to you guys.
for no
Enjoy.
man, no man, no man, no man, no
We'll call it a draw.
man.
Just a flesh wound, just a flesh wound, just a flesh wound, just a flesh